2.5, day 2. So this one, we have what I call clearing the fractions. So we're going to see a little bit harder problems with fractions. So some equations, the coefficients of the variables are rational. Remember, they're decimals or fractions. Remember that when working with fractions, you need to have a common denominator before you add or subtract. So the one method is to get a common denominator and then add or subtract. And you can always do that. Another method, or I think it's kind of a tricky, easier way, is to clear the fractions by multiplying everything by the least common denominator. Now you might forget this one. A lot of kids will, this is really cool, and then they forget how to do it, so they revert back to this, but at least you see a little bit why. So what we do is we make each equation bigger by multiplying by a factor. So the common denominator here, I've got a 2 and a 4. The common denominator would be 4. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4, each one of the terms inside the parentheses. So I'm going to take 4 times 1/2 p plus 4 times 7 equal sign, 4 times 3/4 p plus 4 times 9. So I'm just making this equation 4 times bigger. So half of 4 is 2p plus 4 times 7 is 28 equal sign, 3/4 of 4, so I can cross out my 4's, and I would get 3p equals 4 times 9 is 36. So I would subtract the 2p. I'm going to put them on the right so because I have more variables on the right. Bring down the 28 equals regular, just p, because 3 minus 2 is 1. I totally meant to write this as a plus sign, not an equal sign. Plus 36. Then I would subtract 36. And I would get p equals negative 8. On letter F, looking at all those denominators, the common denominator is 8. So I'm going to multiply everything by 8, each term. So 8 times negative 5/4 c plus 8 times 1/2 equal signs, 8 times negative 3/4 plus 8 times 5/8 c squished. So cross reducing, you can write those over 1. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10c. Minus half of 8 is 4. Cross reducing here. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Ooh, cross reducing here, I would get plus 5c. Now I'm going to move, I'm actually going to move the negative 10 over here to the right. So I get positive variables. So I have negative 4 equals negative 6 plus 15c. Need to get rid of this 6, and it's negative, so I'm going to add 6. I would get 2 equals 15c. Divide both sides by 15. So I get c equals this, either a decimal, but if you start with a fraction, end with a fraction, so it just gives us the answer of 2/15. And that can't be simplified. 2 more. They look a little bit different from each other. So this one, common denominator is 5. So multiply everything by 5, because the only denominator is 5, so that makes it easy. So 5 times 3/5 x minus 5 times 15 equals 5 times 6/5 x plus 5 times 12. 3/5 of 5 would be cross-reduced to 3x minus 75 equals cross-reduced 6x plus 60. So we know what to do. I'm going to move all my variables to the right. So I get negative 75 equals 3x plus 60. Subtract 60. Negative 135 equals 3x. Divide by 3. X equals negative 45. Okay, the next problem is a little bit different. You see some sets of parentheses. So if we look at the 3 and the 2, that tells us that the common denominator is 6. So if you think of these parentheses, these are kind of protecting what's inside. So we cannot multiply the 6 by the protected number. We can only multiply the 6 by the outside number. So it would go to the 1/3 and it would go to the 1/2. So 6 times 1/2 and then bring down the 2h minus 1. So that's not going to be affected. And then 6 times 1/3 and bring down the 2h plus 1/2. So half of 6 is 3. 1/3 of 6 is 2. Now we're actually getting a little ahead of ourselves because the next lesson is where we bring back the distributive property, but we'll bring it back here too. So distribute means we distribute to both or multiply by both numbers inside. So 3 times 2 is 6h minus 3 equals 2 times 2 is 4h. Half of 2 is 1. So I'm going to subtract my 4h's to get all the h's on the left since there were more there. I'm going to add 3. And I get 2h equals 4, divide by 2. So I get h equals 2. So we'll have a couple like that on your homework where it starts with a fraction, or I mean a set of parentheses. So you just remember you can't get to the protected parentheses. All right. So there's a clearing fractions worksheet, and you can't really read this very well, but Chicha from The Emperor's New Groove was the first pregnant woman to appear in a Disney animated film. Have a great day.